What is up, guys? In today's video we're going to be covering observable object, state object, and observed object, and also the @published keyword. So we're going to be going over all of these keywords that are going to help us with updating variables in real time so we can keep our project in better order. And to do this, we're going to create a very simple project which is going to just update a number or just increment a counter by 1, but we're going to spread that out through different views just to show you how all of this works under the hood. Now, the first thing we have to do is go ahead and create a class, which can be anything. I'm just going to call it stuff for this example, and it's going to conform to the ObservableObject protocol. And this just tells the program that we're going to have some variables inside here that should be listened to throughout the entire program. And the first keyword we're going to go over is the @published keyword. And the @published keyword just tells the program that this variable is going to publish changes that other listeners should pay attention to. So if we have a variable called text in here, every time this variable changes, it's going to publish the change to all the listeners and update them that this is being updated. So for example, we're just going to say not updated. Then we'll go ahead and create another one, which is going to be called var button text, which will be equal to update. And finally, one more variable, which will be called @published var counter, and that will equal 0 initially. So these are the global values that we want the program to listen to, and we put them in a class so it's easier to pay attention to. And we're also going to provide a function in this class which is going to change the text for us. So here we'll go ahead and type in function change text. And inside here we're going to provide a task which is going to simulate, let's say, a network request, and it's going to take more time, so you're going to see the updates happen later. So inside here we're going to go ahead and create a sleep function, which will sleep for 3 seconds. This can just simulate a network request. The UI is going to continue to work while this is being calculated. And then we want to go ahead and type in dispatch queue.main.async, and inside here we're going to change the self.text to text changed. And the reason we have to call dispatch queue is because we need to make sure the changes are happening on the main thread, especially if it has to do with the UI. Right below that, we can go ahead and type in self.buttonText, and we're going to change that to reset, because as soon as the button reaches the end of its lifespan, we want it to show the reset text so the user can reset it. And task is only available for iOS 15 and above, which means we have to go to our project and click on build settings and change it to iOS 15 for it to work. So let's go back to content view and the error will disappear. So far we used the observable object and the @published keyword, and these two are just used for creating a class which will be listened to and for publishing the changes to all the listeners. Now we have to go over what the observed object is and what the state object is. So to get started, we're going to go to our content view, and inside here we're going to go ahead and provide a state object. And the state object is going to equal the var of stuff, which is going to equal the stuff class. And there's actually a very minor difference between state object and observed object, so it's quite easy to remember. State object is used every time you're creating a class for the first time, which means if we want to listen to this class, we first have to create it so that we can listen to the changes in the published variables, and then we can use it below. Now, if we want to do this again in a different view, we're going to have to go ahead and provide the @observed object, because we do not want to create this more than once. @state object is used only for the first time you create it. But of course, I'll show you an example of this because it's far too confusing to know this just by the theory. But to get started, we still have the state object here. So let's go ahead and create a VStack. And inside here, we'll give it a spacing of 30. Now we can go ahead and provide a text which interpolates. And inside here, we'll type in stuff.text with a font of .lodge title. Then right below that, we can go ahead and type in button, and inside here we'll just type in stuff.buttonText, and we need to provide some functionality which is going to tell the stuff to change the text. So we're going to update that text just by clicking this button over here. And in fact, if we go ahead and run the program, you're going to notice a 3-second delay before both of these actually change. But that's good so far, because these are being listened to live, which means anything that happens here is going to change in the class, and anything that changes in the class is going to change also here. So it's kind of like a binding variable, but we are much more organized in this case. Below it, we're going to go ahead and create an increment counter. So here we go ahead and type in button, followed by tapped, and we want to interpolate the stuff.counter. And inside here, we will refer to stuff.counter and increment it by 1 each time we click on this counter. And we'll also give it a foreground color of .orange, so it looks a bit different on the screen. Now if we go ahead and run the program, each time we tap on it, it's going to update the counter by 1, and it's going to update it also inside the class. So the class is keeping track of all the changes. So far so good. I've showed you how we can use it in a single place such as our main content view. But what happens if we have a different view? Let's go ahead and click on our folder and create a new SwiftUI view. Click on Next. We will name it Extra View and click on Create. So now let's pretend we want to bring those changes into this view as well. And it's actually very simple. All we have to do is go ahead and provide the @ObservedObject keyword, ObservedObject, and we just have to recreate the stuff that we did earlier. Or we're not going to recreate it, but we are going to reference it. As you can see, this time we did not create the variable, but we chose to reference it. And immediately it's going to give us an error in the preview, so we have to go ahead and provide some stuff, just like this, to make the error go away. Then inside here, we can go ahead and type in text. We need to add some quotation marks and interpolate, so we can add the stuff.counter or whatever variable you want to display in this view from our stuff class. And we will just call font.system, and inside here, size of 40 followed by a weight of .bold. And sometimes Xcode is going to be very insistent of this being an error, but make sure you insert the class inside here just to get the preview working. And I actually had to run the program to make sure that it worked, otherwise the error would not go away. But it should work perfectly if you just insert the class reference here. But as you can see, here we used the @ObservedObject to refer to everything that's inside stuff, because this will just say that now we know that it already exists, we just need a reference that we can use to display the information in a different view. So with that being done, we can go to our content view and resume this. And inside, under the button, we can go ahead and call this extra view. And it's going to only require one parameter, which is stuff. And we can just pass in the stuff from earlier. So now this stuff over here is going to be linked to the extra view, and all the values that are edited here will be passed into the extra view as well. And everything that's published here will also be published in the extra view, because we've created a listener which is called @ObservedObject. And one more time, we only use @StateObject when we create an object for the first time, such as this is the controller and this is the place we decided to initialize stuff. But if we go to extra view, you will see that we used @ObservedObject because we are only referencing it. But if we actually go ahead and run the program, you'll notice we'll get all of these fancy buttons. If we click on update and tap, you'll see that everything's working at the same time and everything's staying updated regardless of the location of the view. So it's actually as simple as that, and it can really simplify sharing values across your app. But as always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.